Thanks for having me. This is exciting.
Gang, hey, thanks much for tuning in. We are learning all about YouTube today, the good, the bad, the up, the down, how we as realtors can take our YouTube channel and bring it to life. Oh, there's a way in which we can earn a lot of reputation business, and that reputation business better earned than bought, and it tastes so much better. My name is Erik Hatch of Hatch Realty and Hatch Coaching, both located in Fargo, North Dakota. And hot diggity, we try to bring every couple of weeks a great webinar or a chance for you to learn and to go and to grow. My man, Tim Macy, is joining us today. Tim and I are both a part of Real, an awesome brokerage that we have been connected with. He is my grandpappy in Real. He is my sponsor. So I shall call him Pappy for the rest of the time here. But it's Papa. Sorry. Papa. It's been really great to see. Full transparency is, I will say this, I have the privilege of leading our real estate team. We'll sell over 1,000 homes this year, which is really fun. And then we look at our YouTube channel and it is a dumpster fire. It is like a landing ground and a place where everything gathers and nothing has sort and place. And so this is going to be good, not only for me, but for my team, and hopefully for those of you that are watching. So those of you that are watching live, welcome. Good to have you here. Please ask some questions, put them in the chat box, and I will tee up Tim with everything you want or need to know. Those of you watching the recording, you can again put your comments down in the YouTube section, and we will happily respond to all that. Tim, I'll allow you to introduce you, because I think my pappy is a pretty special guy. So give us the rundown.
So I'm Tim Macy. I'm here in San Antonio, Texas. I have a small team here in San Antonio. And I've also just been in this real estate video space for the last 5 years or so. Started a Facebook group called RETV. We have about 8,000, 9,000 agents in there, I think, just all about how to do video for real estate. And YouTube was one of the things I couldn't really figure out. Like, I would put a video on Facebook, I'd get a million comments, a million likes, everybody would talk about it, it would be great. I'd put a video on YouTube, it'd get 10 views. I'm like, what the heck? You know, like, why is YouTube, why does YouTube suck? Right? Like, what is the problem? And I don't know how many people are watching right now that put videos on YouTube that get 10 views, but you know what I'm talking about. It's like, why would you waste your time putting a video on YouTube for it to just not do anything? And so that was my overall view of YouTube. But in the last, I'd say 2 years, probably, I guess it's been 2, maybe 3 years, I started to see agents crush YouTube and get way more business than I was getting from all the Facebook and the Instagram and all the other stuff I was doing. And so I said, I'm not doing it right, but other people are. And so what's the right way to do it if I'm doing it the wrong way? And so that's what I've been diving into.
Let's talk about this very quickly, Tim, or at least bring it to our audience's attention. There's 4 ways in which you can get business in this industry. It's PCSOI, that's past client and sphere of influence. I can't say that YouTube is necessary for that medium. I think that the people that already know and like you and trust you, they don't need to see you as an industry expert because they have the relationship with you. The second is low-hanging fruit. That is high expensive leads. That's Zillow and Realtor.com and Trulia and HomeLight and that sort. Sometimes those people are searching for you, and YouTube is the number 2 search engine that's out there, right? Google's number 1, YouTube is number 2. And so sometimes people are learning about you, but oftentimes they're just going to find you and they're going to go with you because that's who Zillow says they're supposed to go with. And you paid an arduous amount of money in order to buy that lead. Yeah. Number 3 is a long-term nurture. And these are people who are oftentimes forced registration, pay-per-click type leads. And these kind of leads are inexpensive, but the average nurture time of these from in which it hits your inbox to closing is 640 days. And you best be thinking that, I'm from Fargo, North Dakota. I don't know what I'm saying here. But you best be thinking that these people are doing some research on you before they actually contact you. And YouTube is one of the great ways. But this number 4 method, and this is why it's so important, Tim, this number 4 method is reputation. When people feel like they have a relationship with you, they feel like they know you, they feel like they have followed you. It's bizarre for me because I don't do YouTube well as a realtor, but I think we're getting better as coaches. And I just had a guy hire me as his coach. And he's like, yeah. And then I watched this video and I watched this video and I watched this video. I'm like, whoa, holy cow. Like you've listened to my voice for hours on end before you ever chose to contact me.
Yeah.
And it was the easiest close I'd ever had, Tim. He's like, I'm like, are you
Bingo.
interested in coaching with me? He's like, yep, I sure am. Okay, cool. Let's dance. So
That's why I'm calling you. Yeah.
That's right. So the 4 lead sources, YouTube really plays into reputation, and that's what you have started to get better at. I'm not going to say master yet, but you're getting better.
Yeah. So I think I've mastered it, but I just haven't. I have to clean up what I've already done wrong, right? And that's the bigger challenge, and that's where I'm hoping. Like, there's people on this call today that can start today and get ahead of me fairly quickly if they start doing it the right way and start the right way. And the other thing too, you mentioned that reputation. I do think more and more we're moving to an influencer economy where that is going to be a larger and larger piece of your business, because the consumer gets more and more educated and they want to work with somebody that they've watched for hours and trust. They're less likely to click that button on Zillow. And so that's why I think this stuff's important. But on YouTube, if I can share my screen, do I get screen sharing ability?
I gave you permission. I think I got ahead of that. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Now, most people don't do that. That's usually a bad idea to give me screen sharing permission. But I got a couple tabs to look at here just to set the table. This is my buddy, Chi. He's got his HGTV YouTube channel. And Chi is a genius. He makes some of my favorite videos. They're amazing. But on YouTube, he doesn't do that well. He's got 193 subscribers. He's got
which is light.
Yeah, and he's got these videos. He's got some listing videos up here. His most popular upload is Justin Tucker NFL record 66-yard field goal with 49,000 views. Like, that's so random. Like, he just randomly uploaded this thing and it did well. He's got some shorts. He's got some stuff. What we call this is spaghetti. He just uploads stuff. He makes a listing video. He puts it up there. He sees this guy kick a field goal. He puts it up there. He does these funny parody videos. He puts it up there. There's no strategy behind this. It's just a mix of videos that, as a real estate agent, we think may be interesting to people. Okay. And the most powerful thing about YouTube is the algorithm. Who owns YouTube? Google,
right? Google,
right?
Yeah.
So Google has all the data. And what's fun about YouTube is if you do well, you're giving all this information to Google about who your video is for. And instead of you trying to put your video in front of people that are moving to Fargo, North Dakota, Google's going to look at your videos. If you've done them well and you focused them and do the things that we're going to talk about, Google's going to look at your videos and they're going to say, Erik's videos are interesting to middle-aged men in California who are conservative leaning, who are thinking about moving to Fargo, North Dakota. And now guess what? I'm going to start putting Erik's videos in front of those people without him doing any effort. The algorithm is going to do the work for him, but only if we do it right. And so that's what I want to talk about today. How do you build out your content the right way where you can be like my buddy Jeremy Knight, who's on here, who will close at least 40 million this year from YouTube leads alone. And that's like what I want to get to, right? That's the business that I want to hit. And there's a very specific way to do that. So if you don't mind, I'll poke over to Jeremy's page and we'll look kind of at the difference. And hopefully we can shed some light on what works on YouTube. So this is Chi's page. I got too many tabs open. This is Jeremy's page. So, and this is TubeBuddy. This gives me a little bit of metrics that you guys probably don't see when you go on YouTube, but that's a tool.
Is that something you pay for, Tim?
Yes, TubeBuddy's a subscription. And as realtors, we need more subscriptions. We don't have enough of them. Joking. Now look at Jeremy's channel.
Immediately, I look at the thumbnails there, and it's so much more attractive than what she was doing.
Well, some like to use the term clickbait, and it is what it is. Yeah, sure. It is clickbait. I like to think of it as click worthy because people are going to search for things. People are going to see things popping up in their YouTube feed and what is worth for them to click on. So his most popular upload is huge regret moving from California to Austin, Texas. Look at that thumbnail right here. Huge regret moving from California to Austin, Texas. I've been to a million real estate conferences where everybody's on stage about talking about doing videos about the market update and doing videos about a listing and doing videos about your local bakery that just opened, right? And if you think about it, do people that really want to learn more about buying a house care about those topics that you're talking about? But when you look at huge regret moving from California to Austin, Texas, if I live in California, what video do you think I'm clicking on?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's where I think we miss, because on Facebook, yeah, a listing video is cool. On Facebook, a video of the local bakery that just opened is interesting. People comment on it, people share it. But when you're on YouTube and people are thinking about making a real estate transaction in your area and they're researching, right? Like the guy that called you for coaching was researching on YouTube. And guess what? He found you, he listened to you because he wanted to hear what Erik Hatch had to say. Mm-hmm. When somebody is thinking about buying and transacting in your market, what do they want to know about? Huge regret moving from California to Austin, Texas. That's an amazing video and title. Real stuff you must know before moving to Texas. That's a pretty good one, right? Avoid buying a home in these Austin probably areas or something. Massive new Austin property tax. He doesn't have a single video on here that says October market update.
Now, do you advise against that because it's not evergreen, and evergreen means it will live on in forever, whether it's watched today or next year?
So I would say October market update is, yeah, not evergreen. So I'd advise against it, but also because it's boring. As realtors, we think a market update is interesting. Like we're like, oh, of course people want a market update. People don't care. People want to hear you tell the story about how, you know, you had a buyer, they had 6 offers on the property and your buyer missed out on it and they missed out on another one. And on the 8th time through, you got them under contract. And that's what you're seeing. And you're seeing this in the market. Like people want to hear you commentate and talk about the market. They don't care about months of inventory. You know, you can talk about months of inventory, but what they really care about is the stories. They care about your opinion. They care about how you feel about what's going on, how you really feel about what's going on, not what your realtor voice says, like, oh, everything's great. It's a great time to buy. It's a great time to sell. It's always a great time, right? Like they don't want to hear that. They want to hear what's really going on. And so, you know, if you Austin's dropping homes, prices hit bottom, right? I'm like, okay, what is this? Well, if you look, it's just Jeremy talking about what's going on in the Austin market. He's not out filming some really complicated things. He's just talking in front of the camera, green screen behind him with some B-roll stuff popping up. And so this is what works.
How much time per day do you think he's spending on YouTube?
So when we have people starting out on YouTube, we say 1 video a week. And I've had agents do more and they put out more crappy videos. And then we have agents do less and it's just not enough. Like 1 good video every week, you upload it at the same time every day. And if I poke around, I think I can go into my analytics here. So you can see this is the video that brings me the most amount of business. San Antonio pros and cons, me thinking. And you can see I put this video out here.
Very, very, very stoic, by the way.
Right.
Just so
I put this video out and it's not really doing much. And then Google says, oh, guess what? I figured out who this video is for. And then boom, it just keeps taking off. And we're at the 582 day mark and it's still going, right? Because YouTube figured out who this video is for. Average view duration's 5 minutes, 58% average percentage. Like what is the average time somebody watches one of your Facebook videos?
It's probably 3 minutes or less. Yeah.
Probably less. I'd say you're lucky if you get 15 seconds out of somebody on Facebook, but our average view duration here is 5 minutes on average. And you could see that, you know, people are slowly dropping off and then they all drop off at the end. But there's another thing you can find in your analytics where it will literally show you when the people are watching your channel. And so then you can look at that and say, oh, look, Sunday at 2 p.m. is probably my ideal time to put a video out. And then just go by the analytics, and you make one video a week and put it out every Sunday at 2. And your audience, if you build an audience, will start to get used to that. Like if you do that for a year and you build an audience and you don't put a video out, people are going to comment like, hey, where's our video? You know, which is a good thing, which is a powerful thing. So yeah, one video a week is what we recommend everybody does. All right. You want me to keep diving? I'll keep diving.
Going. This is your jam, buddy. You're leading.
If you have questions too, feel free to drop questions in the Q&A or the chat. I love chatting. So if you got good stuff you want to talk about, let me know. The other thing, all right. So I'm kind of throwing a lot out there, and I'm sure it gets a little overwhelming, and you're like, okay, this all sounds great. Where do I start? Also made $30 on this video. It's big bucks right there. There are two things that matter. There are two things that you should write down. If you're taking notes, write these down. The two things are click-through rate. Click-through rate means your video pops up in the YouTube feed. So, you know, I go on YouTube and boom, Erik's video pops up. What percentage of people click on that video to watch it? So your click-through rate is very important. And let me see if I can find mine. So my click-through rate on this video is 4.4%, which isn't that great. It should be like 6 or 7. But this is what YouTube cares about. If YouTube puts your video in front of people, how many of them click it? And when we look at click-through rate, the thing that we care about, or what are the two things, Erik, you think that get you click-through rate?
I'd imagine the length of video.
No. So the two things that affect your click-through rate are your thumbnail and your title.
Okay. So I know sometimes depending on the time frame that I have, I'll look at the length of video, but certainly the thumbnail makes sense and the title makes sense. For me, I'm such a high D. I just want to say how much time am I going to have to waste on this?
Well, so on the time, because that's always another question people ask. Most of our better videos are 8 to 12 minutes. That's the length of video you want on an informational talking head video on YouTube.
Where I'll coach somebody, and I'm curious your take on this, but I'll coach somebody when it comes to Facebook videos that you want to be at 3 minutes.
Yeah, so like Facebook videos way shorter. And you got to remember, when you're on Facebook, you're herding cats. Those are people that are scrolling, and if they click on your video, they got a bunch of other videos below it. Like they just are scrolling. YouTube, people tend to be researching. And like you said, the guy that called you about coaching had already listened to you for hours. If you give them hours of good content, they will watch hours of content on YouTube. And so 8 to 12 seems to be the sweet spot. But we've also seen people do well with like 20-minute videos and 30-minute videos and get crazy watch time on those videos. So 8 to 12 is where we want to be. But if you're rolling and you're making good content, you can definitely go longer. So click-through rate is important. And like I said, we go back to your thumbnail and your title. What are your thumbnail and your title that are just going to get people to not click on everything else and click on your video? Like what really matters to your audience? The thing we talked about was the algorithm. But I was at a vid summit with the guy who runs the YouTube algorithm, and he crossed out algorithm and put audience. Like all that matters is the audience that you're making videos for and what is going to make them click on your video.
You know, Tim, I do Facebook Live videos every once in a while. And I've been listening to your coaching on this about the importance of title and everything else. And I just thought, all I'm doing every time I'm trying to hire somebody or recruit or attract, or I'm just selling them on like, here's all the great reasons why you should work with me. Here's all the reasons why you'd love to live in San Antonio or Fargo. And when I hear that, it's like,
stop selling me.
I don't want to go to the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
And I think it's our job as realtors to shine a light on our team members and our friends and community and that sort, but it's also our job
to give really poignant, honest information. And so I did a Facebook video and I went live last week talking about the 5 reasons you shouldn't want to work with me.
Yes.
And I got so much more attraction and energy behind that. And I know we're talking YouTube here, but the idea is a video that says, here's the reasons why you wouldn't want to. Like, if I'm an audience, like, now I want to hear what those reasons are, instead of like, I don't need this guy telling me how great real estate is. I want to tell you how friggin' hard it is and how much more of a headache you're going to have by actually doing it.
So I can say, that's most of the paradigm shifting, the reprogramming we have to do with agents when they get onto YouTube, is that the topics that you think work probably don't. Like 5 best neighborhoods to live in. Interesting. 5 worst neighborhoods, more interesting.
Yeah.
If you think about YouTube, or if you think about when you buy something on Amazon and it's got 4,000 5-star reviews, which ones do you read?
The 1-star.
Right? You look for the 2-star and the 1-star reviews because you want to know what's really going on. And so what your YouTube videos should be, again, going back to Jeremy's page, is his stuff is all about, I'm going to tell you what's really going on. Like, all the other realtors on YouTube are realtors on YouTube, but I'm your inside source. I'm going to tell you what's, like, literally this title, Neighborhoods Austin Locals Don't Want You to Know About. Like, come on. Is there a better title than that says,
well, I want to go back to your even aforementioned, because I think that point is valid, but you had said people don't want market stats and market updates. Look at the video next to that is Zillow stops buying houses, market trouble. That has the lowest number of views of anything he's put out in the last 2 weeks.
Yep.
Us as realtors are like salivating, like, oh man, Zillow's fallen, and we're all paying attention.
People don't care.
No, look at his general audience doesn't give 2 turds about it.
Yep, for sure. No, that's a great point. And that's what we need to go back to. Christina Smallhorn is another one. I'll punch her in real quick. Christina is now, she was an agent that does YouTube, but now she's a YouTuber. Christina's at 145,000 subscribers, 145,000 subscribers. Her full-time income now is YouTube. She doesn't have to sell real estate anymore. She built this YouTube channel. And I listened to her talk at Vid Summit, and she said, I make videos for Frank. So I don't make any videos for anybody else but Frank. And Frank is her avatar. So she makes affordable homes at Lowe's for less than 30,000, how home flippers hide their costly mistakes, housing crash. She makes videos for Frank, and Frank is a white conservative male who is looking for housing solutions, right? Like, there's an avatar that she's found that her videos are for, and she focuses it on, how is this video gonna be for Frank? And what we do as realtors is we try to make videos that appeal to everybody. We want a video that everybody likes. And what you'll find is on YouTube, the more you can narrow down on that avatar in your head and think about your clients. Like, think about your 4 or 5 favorite clients that you've had. What do they have in common? And you focus on what would they be interested in, right? Like I've got clients that moved from Hawaii, and I've got 4 of them. I look at them, I say, what topics would they have clicked on? What topics would they have been interested in? I'm only going to make videos for this specific person. When you do that, you want to lock the algorithm to start putting it in front of more people. So narrowing down exactly who your videos are for is super powerful. Mm-hmm. So we're all over the place. I said click-through rate was the thing.
Yeah, I was actually about to interject and say, what's number 2? Because one was click-through rate.
So click-through rate is the number 1 thing. And I said titles and thumbnails. You have to get out of your realtor mindset and just think about, what the heck would I want to watch if I was going to think about transacting? Get out of your realtor shoes, put yourself in your client shoes. And Disney World's a great example. You know, I've been there a lot, too many times.
You were just there last week in a torrential rainstorm / hurricane almost. Yeah.
I was literally there last week. And go on YouTube and search Disney World. And you'll find Disney vloggers that have millions of views talking about Disney World. Guess who doesn't have millions of views talking about Disney World?
Disney,
right? Because they don't understand how to step out of their Disney way of marketing and thinking and just be an actual human talking about the parks. And that's the same thing with realtors. That's why I think a lot of our marketing fails, is because we can't step out of who we are as realtors and just connect with people on a personal level. And so I'm beating a dead horse here, but it's because the titles and the thumbnails being appealing to people and not appealing to realtors is the most important thing with being successful on YouTube. Mm-hmm. So the second thing, I'll get to your second thing. The second thing is watch time. So you have a great thumbnail. It's Erik with his shirt off, and he's like, "I love Fargo Summers," right? I don't know. I just made that up top of my. I don't know. I was like, "What's something I would click on?" You know, that's what I thought. But
you've always been known to be a chubby chaser, Tim. So here it comes. You know.
You make this great thumbnail. It's got this great title, and people are clicking on it like crazy, right? Because you've won step one. You've done it. You've made a great thumbnail, great title. Everybody's clicking on it. Everybody's interested in it. The next thing's watch time. How many people that click on that video watch your video, and how long do they watch it for? And that's where I say having those 8 to 12 minute videos and having people watch them. So if people click on your video because you have an amazing thumbnail and amazing title and they watch it, YouTube is going to do amazing things with that video. And so those are the two things you really need to focus on. So thumbnails, we've dug into, make them interesting. We can dig more into that. Titles, make them interesting. On the watch time, a couple of things are: have a great hook. I was listening to Mr. Beast at Vid Summit. If you don't know who Mr. Beast is, your kids probably do. One of the biggest YouTubers there is, and he said you got to have a hook, tell a story, and have a payoff. Hook people in, tell a story, then have a great payoff. I have trouble with these informational videos of having a really great payoff. You know, it's hard to like loop it all into this joke at the end like he does. But I think we can definitely have a great hook and give great information. Like that's the biggest thing. But he did this video where he would give a bounty hunter like $500,000 if the bounty hunter found him. So that you know, that's the type of stuff he does, like crazy stuff like that. And his hook was, I'm going to, you know, it's me and the bounty hunter. He's like, I'm going to give this bounty hunter $500,000 if he can catch me. And they just ran and took off. like that 5-second hook was great. I'm in. Like, this is amazing. And he went right into it, and he's running, and the bounty hunter's chasing him, and he's hiding and whatever. And that's the video. Too many times what we do is where our video's great, our thumbnail's great, our title's great, and then we have an intro, and it's like shots of our city, right? And then it's our logo, and it says Hatch Realty, you know, real broker, and it's got Erik like in a suit looking cool. And then 15 seconds later, Erik finally gets on the screen and is like, "Hi, I'm Erik with I'm Erik Hatch with Hatch Realty," and blah 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 blah. And you've taken 40 seconds to actually get to the point. It's a horrible hook. And so what we find is our agents that just say, "Hey, the San Antonio market could crash, and here's why." Boom, 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 and right into it. They go right into the information. They don't say, "Hi, I'm a realtor. If you're thinking about calling me, call me." And that's the most important thing, I think, about a hook.
Now, I'm constantly trying to get better at this, Tim, but even at this, I want to start off by being like, "Hey, everybody, I'm Erik Hatch. I'm so glad to be here with you today." And none of that is necessary or it matters. What I need to do is I need to kick off and being like, "Man, if you stink at YouTube, the next 45 minutes is going to be everything you need to dive into. My name's Erik Hatch," right? Like you got to hit them with the topic before you hit them with the intro.
Guess what? Here's a little secret that nobody else knows. They already know you're Erik Hatch. They're literally on your YouTube page, right? Like on Facebook, like, "Hi, if you ever need anything, you should call me 210." It's like, dude, you're posting this video from your YouTube page. If they want to reach out to you, your information is right there. You don't have to waste a portion of your video telling them who you are and where you're from. Like, they know. And you know, and so that's the other thing too. That's why I don't think people should do that. working on that more. I'm working on writing out my videos more because I don't know about you, but I just, like right now, I just get on and start spieling. But I look at, I'm making a video non-real estate related that Disney World is not worth the money. Right? So Disney World is not worth the money. And that hook in that title went from Disney World is overpriced. Disney World is too expensive for the average family. And I kept going through all these different iterations, but what I came to is Disney World is not worth the money. That is the most concise way to say what I'm going to talk about, you know? And that's what I think too, like Fargo, North Dakota market is going to explode in 2022. You probably take North Dakota out of there, right? Fargo housing is going to explode in 2022. Like you have to keep whittling it down to the most concise way to say what you want to say. And then
Tim, go ahead, keep going.
No. I know we want to get to a question here.
Yeah, Amber had asked about a payoff. Walk us through exactly what a payoff is.
So like I said, payoff is something that I wrote down in my notes when I was at that conference, because I really think if you can get good at mastering a payoff, it could be amazing. Like it could do amazing things for our videos. And what the payoff is that, hey, you know, now I got to think one. Okay. So my Disney World video, right? Disney World's not worth the money. That's the hook. I'm going to go through all the different stats on how, you know, you could go this place for cheaper. You could do this for cheaper. The tickets cost too much. The food costs too much. But the payoff is like, Disney's not worth the money, but how do you put a price on my daughter's face when she sees the castle and the experience and how much fun we have, right? Like that's maybe a payoff for that type of video.
So if we were to take the Fargo housing is going to explode in 2022, right? The payoff is what in that story?
So that's the hook. Then you dive into stats, you dive into the information, you just keep hitting them with this great content and opinions. And then the payoff maybe could be, I'm totally spitballing this here. But in my mind, a payoff could be, it's going to like, you know, the housing market's always going up, going down. It's always doing something, but people who stay in the market for the long term tend to win historically. You know, maybe that's a payoff there, but having that ending where people are happy they stayed for the whole video is kind of how I would define a payoff. So you have a good hook, give them a ton of great information, your opinion, and then you've got this ending where you give them some last great piece of insight where they're like, man, I'm really, really happy I watched that whole video. I feel pretty good about it.
My buddy Jeff has this question. He says, do you ever get worried about licensing standards? Here's what I mean. Our licensing says us agents can't steer a prospective buyer to an area. Wouldn't a video that says the 5 worst neighborhoods or best places be steering?
So, one, I'm definitely not a great person to ask questions about how to follow the rules because I not very good at that part. But I will say when we get into that stuff, like 5 worst neighborhoods is the clickbait, right? I could just call it what it is. That's the clickbait. When you get into the video, it's usually just citing statistics. Like the tax rate here is higher, right? You have a higher tax rate here. You've got different deed restrictions. Like I've got crazy deed restrictions where I live that I didn't research too well before I bought my house, and I can't rent out my bus here on Airbnb. And I didn't know that. I wish somebody had made a YouTube video about it. So you can, you know, I mean, you can't say that's a bad neighborhood, but you can cite statistics that make it less appealing to people. You know what I mean? Like as long as you're factual. And then Jeremy's very good at, he's like, personally, I like Del Springs, but it has a high tax rate and everything else. And just cite those factual things that can't really be seen as steering.
Right on. Another question coming in. Tell us about editing. What are the best tools? Really, what's the best equipment we should be using if we want to get serious about YouTube? And would you recommend using a VA to help with that, a virtual assistant?
Everybody's different. Everybody's got different abilities. Everybody's got different you know, quality standards and everything else. Who is your guy that does the new builds?
Brent.
So
Brent Wells down in Dallas, Fort Worth.
Look, Brent's out there with a cell phone, just talking about the new builds. He's walking around, right? I mean, I don't think he has much on the editing side. He's just out there making it happen. On the talking head video stuff that I think is pretty proven to be the most successful way for most agents to do well is that talking head, you talking to the camera about your market and these different topics. That can be a pretty good camera. Like I have the Sony ZV-E10. That's what I'm recommending right now, the Sony ZV-E10. And you can set that up. I have it set up for the videos that I do. And that's a Z as in zebra.
That's what I said. Yep, Sony ZV-E10.
and so that's a good one. You get yourself a good background. You don't have to get a super fancy microphone like I have, but I like it because I think it makes me sound good. And then start shooting the stuff. You should be able to find a editor that doesn't have to be local because you're sending them the footage that you're shooting, and then they need to be able to cut B-roll over that, put pictures over that. And there's no easy answer for finding a good video editor. It's one of the problems I think everybody that really gets serious about doing video runs into is the editing. But Video Husky is one that's been good for some people. Finding editors on Fiverr have been good for some people, but it's a lot of trial and error. Like editors are humans, and you got to find the right human for you.
Really good.
We could start Vendor.
Vendor?
Tinder for video editors, you know?
Oh, wow.
Sorry.
That's nice.
Need to inject a little comedy, you know?
No, it was not what I expected to swipe right on, but I'm all about it. So Paul Graves says this. He says, when it comes to making content, tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them.
So I agree with Paul, but I will say you got to dig into that even a little bit more. Like you're going to tell them what you're going to tell them, but how do you tell them in a concise way that really hooks them in? And then what's those next 2 or 3 pieces of information that keep them? And then after that, I mean, once you get them for that first 45 seconds or a minute or so, you tend to have a captive audience as long as your stuff's pretty good. So I wouldn't put a lot of thought into these videos. Like I wouldn't script them all out. I don't have everything I'm going to say written. I have like bullet points. So you're conversational about it. You got to be conversational about it. But I would in the shower be thinking about I don't know, my thoughts come to me in the shower. I would be thinking about what's that best sentence? What's that best first sentence that I'm going to say in this video that's going to hook people in? And then what are the most important facts and things that I can throw at them right after that hook that's going to keep them? And then after that, you're kind of home free. And then where he says, tell them what you told them, that's my one thing that I would work on. I don't think it's an easy thing, but the thing I would work on is instead of just telling them what you told them, have a great payoff. Have something where they're like, oh, wow, Erik Hatch is a profound human being. It's just a brilliant thought he had there. Like that's where I think you should end the videos with a great payoff.
Yeah, you want to keep people hanging around. And I watch a lot of TikTok because I love mind-numbing things for 15 minutes a day. Yep.
TikTok's all about the payoff.
TikTok will even say on the screen, like, I can't believe what happens at the end. And so you watch, you're like, nothing happened at the end. And then you end up being ticked off at that video. But the ones that actually do have the great payoff, I mean, that's as Amber had alluded to and asked, what's the payoff? It's like, what are you sticking around for?
Yeah.
Because if it's the same note the entire time, it's pretty wild. And so I recorded my radio show today. I've been doing a radio show for about 10 years on a local talk radio station. And I've been paying attention to this payoff idea. And so my final segment, I usually give a couple of tips and I tease ahead of time. And so with everything that's been happening with Zillow right now, I open the show talking about Zillow and telling the stories of what's happening with people when they're using Zestimates and why there's danger in that. And then I tease at the beginning, I'm like, you got to hang tight because before we wrap today's show, I'm going to share with you my favorite Zillow algorithm story, right? And I'm not delivering even like this massive thing, but I set the hook right away of like my favorite Zillow algorithm story is coming. And so at the end of the show, I share of how I had a client come to me with their Zestimate, and they say, this is what I think my house is worth. And it was actually $150,000 difference. And their house sat on the market as a FSBO for years. And they were so mad, and they thought that all realtors were crocs of, poo. And instead I was able to go in there and try to revamp it, and then got it. So like, is that great? No, not by any means, because I got to keep working on it. But you have to be able to tease and then please. That wasn't meant to sound dirty, but that's
all right.
Yeah. I don't know if that was meant to sound dirty, but it did, and that was unintentional.
Hey, Jeff's got a great question that I want to hit on. What makes a Sony camera so much better than your iPhone? The answer is not much. Like, the freaking iPhone is amazing. My problem with my iPhone is there's a very small chance that if I sit down to record a 20-minute video talking about the market, that my iPhone's not going to ring or get a text message, right? Like, I mean, at some point, if you're serious about video, you have to get a camera, because the phone is your phone. And the other thing is too, is that you have, like, I don't know if you ever watch YouTube videos, but the good talking head videos tend to have like great backgrounds, right? And it's like a nice setup. And so I just spent $1,000 on a new lens because I need to up my game on how it looks. And so you want a little bit better picture than the iPhone. I think people notice that, and it does get better audience retention. And then the third thing is the ease to be able to plug it right into your computer, to stream it right into whatever editing service and everything else you have. So I found that the iPhone is a little more cumbersome. Like, if I plug my mic into the phone and the other stuff, it's just if you're going to do it at scale, you got to have a camera. On the same hand, starting out, no reason that you can't do a lot on your iPhone. You could definitely get started on your phone. But if you're going to put out a video a week and you're going to take YouTube seriously, I would definitely recommend getting a camera. And that one's $800 or something. It's not super expensive of a tool there.
That's the cost for a funnel cake at Disney. So it's
nothing,
I will say this, and this is so important to note. If anybody's considering doing YouTube regularly, you got to get a microphone, and you got to get better lighting than what you have.
Yeah, good sound.
A lot of, I can't tell you how many YouTube videos, some of mine included, are echoey. And the minute it's echoey, you will lose credibility from a lot of people.
Yeah. And like right now I'm waiting for my wood paneling to get in from China so we can like redo this whole background for a cool YouTube setup. And that's why I haven't put out a lot of videos lately. But you can also green screen as well. Like, green screen is a way to do it as well. Jeremy has been doing green screen the whole time, so that works as well for a background.
Tim, I know we have probably 10 minutes left or so. Folks, keep asking questions because it's important. We're gonna talk about two kinds of people here while we see if any other questions come in. There's the Tim Macy's and Erik Hatches of the world that have gone forward and thrown a bunch of stuff on their YouTube channel, and it is, as you would refer to it, as spaghetti. It's a little bit of everything. And what advice would you give that person? And then the opposite side is, if somebody's never done anything, what advice would you give them?
I mean, look, honestly, if you have less than like 1,000 subscribers, I don't think it really matters. I think a lot of people may be kind of caught up on that unless you have a significant following. Mine's a little tough because I already have 2,000 followers. I've got some other videos that are getting traction and whatnot. So just go for it. Don't worry about it too much. Restart, just start over, do your thing.
Would you delete what's in there? Would you leave it in there? What does that look like?
I don't really care. If nobody's seeing it, it doesn't really matter, right? Yeah. But this is my buddy Trey. He started a couple months ago, maybe. And so he's up to 128 subscribers. You can see 79, 116 views. This isn't bad. He's got this one that popped to 460 views, 212. So he's starting out, and he's already gotten 2 leads from this. So if you start out with the right topics, the right thumbnails, it'll start to grow just going from starting from scratch. But I will say you have to stick with it, and you have to be okay with not getting any views, right? Like you have to be okay with it. You can't get impatient. Just stick to it. Because what happens is, like our buddy Ken Pozek in Orlando just crossed 18,000 subscribers. And it's like going from 0 to 1,000 subscribers is really tough. Going from 1,000 to 3,000, not as tough. And then all of a sudden, boom, you go from 3,000 to 10,000. You're like, holy crap! Like this is easier.
Is that all because the algorithm is helping out?
Yeah. I mean, the more you tell YouTube, the more YouTube figures out who your channel's for, the more organic growth you're going to start to get.
Great. Paul has a question here. How do you balance or manage making stuff helping other agents versus stuff for your clients? Or do you do both in one channel?
Don't do both from one channel. Like, Erik and I both help agents and have content, I think, around that. But your channel has to be focused on one audience. And that's where the money is having your channel focused on one audience. So Malcolm Lawson has a great real estate channel. He's like a brainiac when it comes to YouTube stuff. I learned a lot of the stuff from him. And then he's got a separate outdoor living channel that's got over 100,000 subscribers. So it's a completely different audience. So it has a different channel, different audience, different channel. If it's the same audience, same channel. Jeff has a great question. This is an interesting one. So Jeff asked, you pay for YouTube any, or is it all organic? I just had this with another agent who I was talking to, who moved to a new market. And moving to a new market, I think YouTube, if I move to a new market, if I come live in Fargo, I would spend all my time on YouTube. Because that, to me, I mean, that's just the best place to start moving to a new market. And so he's like, hey, I moved to this new, yeah, Erik would crush me. That is true. No, I would sign up to be a showing partner. That's what I would do if I moved to Fargo.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll take it.
But he was like, hey, I'm doing this channel. It's like getting a little bit of stuff. Should I spend money on it? And I told him, I was like, spending money on it is frowned upon because it can mess with the algorithm, but give it a shot, see what happens. And so he spent some money and he did get some calls. Like he got some traction from it, but his watch time went down and his engaged subscribers went down. And some of these other really meaningful metrics went down. And so the positive of spending money on it is, yeah, you can kind of like skip a step, get more views, get more action, maybe get some leads. The negative on it though, is it's messing with the inputs that you're giving the algorithm, because if you play it straight and you don't spend any money on it, YouTube starts to figure out your avatar. If you spend money and start pushing it in front of other people, it can kind of confuse that process. So short-term gains for what I think could be long-term issues.
We have about 5 minutes left or so. Tim, who are some realtors we should be following on YouTube and ripping off all their stuff and duplicating?
Jeremy Knight is the one that I showed. Malcolm Lawson has some good stuff. Bill Olson has some stuff that I like. Dan Parker in San Diego is putting out some good videos. There is, I don't know, I think that's a good amount. And honestly, go into your market. This is my favorite thing. Go into your market and search moving to Cincinnati housing market. And you're going to find agents that are already doing this in your market, and see what they're doing and see the ones that are being successful and what you can do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's such a small number of people that are doing it as well. And if you can get that algorithm figured out, all of a sudden YouTube becomes your hype man. They're your Flavor Flav,
Well, what's great too is my buddy Trey that I showed you. There's actually a lot of agents in San Antonio. San Antonio is one of the most saturated YouTube markets that I've seen in the research that I've done. And even with that, Trey started a couple months ago and is already getting business from it, because the thing is on YouTube is people get to pick who they want to watch, and you're going to get people that like you. Like there's people that watch my video that will never call me. They don't like me. Instead, maybe they like Trey more. They're going to watch his stuff, call him. And so it doesn't matter how many people are doing YouTube in your market, because if you do YouTube, you're going to find your people.
You know, Trey, you said started 2 months ago, is at 126 subscribers.
I think he got serious about it 2 months ago. He may have some videos from before that, but yeah.
Sure. I would equate that to adding 2 people a day to his database.
Yeah.
Right. These are people who are actually choosing to follow you. This is better than a Facebook friend. It's better than an Instagram follow. This is somebody who is choosing to engage in your content, not for a clever quip or not for a quick little story, but for minutes and minutes and minutes at a time. And they're saying, you're an expert and you're somebody who I want to be influenced by. It is powerful.
I love it.
Yeah. Tim, the people that are watching, how can they support you? How can they do a solid for you?
Venmo me.
Okay, perfect.
I'm joking.
That's at the Erik Hatch is where you want to Venmo Tim.
I think Instagram's probably the best place to connect with me, and it's probably my least paid attention to platform where I haven't been doing a good job of building it. So yeah, if you want to connect with me on Instagram, I'd love to chat more on this stuff.
Beautiful. Well, a collective round of applause for Tim Macy, everybody. What a guy, what a fella. Proud to call you my pappy over at Real.
Yeah, man.
And gang, you know how to find us over at Hatch Coaching if we can do good. What's up?
And that's the other thing too. We do a meeting every Tuesday. We do this mastermind meeting where we're talking about a lot of this stuff. And if anybody ever wants to jump in on that, hit Erik up and we can definitely get you the link for that too.
Sounds great. Hey man, blessings to you, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We are heading out of here. I gotta go enjoy another bubbly. Have a good one.
Make it happen. Later.